Hello, hello.
Hey Stephen, how's it going?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Good, good. I'm trying to sort through the pinning feature here in the spaces. I think they moved them around a little bit.
Well, as I was trying to get into this Twitter space today, I had to go find a link to it, and then something popped up about, NFT profile pictures, some kind of onboarding flow. So, like a, true designer, I instantly started screenshotting it to see what the onboarding flow is like. Not that I want an NFT profile picture, but yeah, so that dropped today.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, to anyone just tuned in, we'll just give it a couple more minutes. Just pinging people still here. I pinned the tweet, the big announcement at the very top of this space here. Feel free to poke around there. It's a pretty handy feature, these pinned tweets.
Yeah, I dig it.
If anybody wants to start chatting about something, just raise your hand. We'll add you to give you speaker permissions. How's it going, Daniel?
Hey, Dan. Daniel.
Well, good, thanks. Happy to be here to celebrate.
Yeah, I have my beer ready here. A nice local Bavarian beer here. I'll enjoy that during the conversation. It's best we got.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah, it's more coffee time for me here, so I'll enjoying that. But yeah, no, it's been not so long coming. I think finishing off the Lightning work, but it's going to be nice to talk about it and see what might be next.
That's a big. Do you really want to talk about what's next already in this call, or do you just want to ignore the future for a moment and enjoy this glorious moment of achievement?
Yeah, no, always thinking about what's next, but we can definitely leave that. It was more dreaming maybe
Okay.
than deciding.
Yeah.
Dreaming rather than deciding.
That's how it starts, right?
What's next? I'll tell you what's next. The big page of issues on GitHub. That's what's next.
Sorry, the which one?
The big page of issues on GitHub.
Oh, yeah.
In the repository.
That will never end. Cannot be defined by your to-do list.
Seeing plenty of familiar.
Yeah, should we just...
I'm down.
Yeah, I'm sure a few more people will come in. That's okay. Well, to start at the top, well, I'm Christoph here. I'm speaking from the Bitcoin Design account. And this is our typical community, Bitcoin Design community call, which we have every 3 weeks. This is number 27 already. How many weeks does that make? Quite a few. And usually we have an agenda. So we ask around, like, hey, community, what do you want to talk about? And a few people suggest things, and then we talk about them, maybe with a few prepared notes, and then kind of have a loose conversation around them. So, but today we don't have a list of topics. We just have one, and that's what you see pinned at the top of this Twitter space here. So the Bitcoin Design Guide version 2 is it's ready after 7 months of work, and you can read the article. There's a Twitter thread that pretty concisely takes you through everything. But just very briefly, the Bitcoin Design Guide is, I think it was started a year and a half ago, roughly, from scratch, basically, with the idea of creating a human interface guidelines for for Bitcoin applications, mostly wallets, and really, around the principles, all the great principles of decentralization and privacy and open source and open collaboration, all of this stuff, just really doing it the right way. And so we built this guide with a whole community. There were just tons of people involved. Built the website, created the guide. Was done in April of last year. And then we thought, well, what's next? And the topic of Lightning came up, and now we just revisited all of the 50 plus pages in the guide with Lightning material. Some things were easier to update. We have various materials that are introductions to designing for Bitcoin, some information about Bitcoin itself that's not so Lightning dependent, and a few other things. And some areas were just really tricky, like especially everything around Lightning services, Lightning onboarding, channel management, all of the UX considerations around there, also privacy and security, and really tricky bits to I'll say one more thing and then I'll be quiet. I think 7 months ago, I myself didn't know that much about Lightning. And I feel like some other people also had fairly basic questions. How, we had through the guide, all kinds of people brought in different ideas and knowledge and did research. We had the Mastering the Lightning book reading group that had like 16 sessions and worked through that book. The wallet improvement project did hands-on testing of various Lightning wallets and recorded their impressions and UX considerations, and also, fed back some of the ways that those wallets could be improved back to those projects. And so it was really cool. And I feel like the community managed to bring in a lot of knowledge and understanding around Lightning. It's not totally done yet. Technology maturing, still lots to figure out. But for my part, I thought it was pretty awesome what everybody pulled off there. Did anybody else want to just briefly share their thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'll jump in. Or Pav, did you want to go?
No, I just wanted to say I'm very happy that Twitter Spaces are working first time for like eternity. So just kudos to that. Hopefully it won't break. So that's what I'm grateful and happy about. But Stephen, go ahead, take it away. Just wanted to pray to Twitter Spaces God that this thing doesn't collapse.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we've had some issues before with the past spaces crashing, so hopefully they're kind to us today. Yeah, I mean it's been like super fun working on this for the past 6 months or so. By my rough estimation, I don't remember the exact date we officially kicked off the edition of Lightning, but I think I'm pretty satisfied with where we're at with version 2. I can't help but look to the future about kind of what we need to work on next. Like, kind of where I see it right now and kind of where we're at right now is that we've done a lot of research and thinking and designing around like Lightning as it exists right now, right? Which is very complicated because obviously if you've studied Lightning, you're familiar with channel management and stuff like that. It's it can become incredibly complicated. And so, one of the principles we talk about in the guide is basically being non-custodial, and that the user has complete control over their funds. And so when you want to talk about non-custodial Lightning, that leads you down the path of, well, this user, if they have a Lightning wallet, they're essentially running a Lightning node, right? And then that leads to, well, then they must have channels connected to their node, and it starts to become very complicated very quickly. And we've done a lot of thinking around this and a lot of designing, and we have like Bosch put together a lot of great like example workflows for what if you want to have a Lightning service provider hooked up or something like that, and the wallet provider is able to give them liquidity, or what if their friend sends them money over a Lightning channel, and a channel is formed between them. Like there's a lot of different ways to do that. And then we've done some stuff, put some details about Lightning address and all that, but right now that the situation is just that there's just a lot of different ways that people can interact with Lightning. So I think we've done a fair first pass at just like addressing the complexity of Lightning and trying to simplify it. What I'm really just kind of looking forward to in the future is just more thinking around ways to simplify that down even further. The ideal situation in my mind, and this is probably a hard ideal to attain, but is a wallet that is as easy to download and set up as Signal or something like that. Like Signal is incredibly easy for somebody to install on their phone, and they don't have to know anything about PGP or anything like that, and they can start sending encrypted messages right away. So like the Lightning equivalent to that would be, to me, somebody downloads a wallet, it's non-custodial, and they never have to ask what's a channel or anything like that. It's just as easy to set up. So that would be the goal, and that's a challenge that I don't think anybody's quite fully solved yet in a non-custodial way. But I'm looking forward to doing more thinking and work on that over the next 6 months here.
Yeah, good points, Stephen. What something I wonder about and is some of these issues around Lightning and the simplicity that you kind of want to achieve. I think they're going to require such close collaboration between design and development and various other people with different backgrounds to really nail that correctly. So I do think things like the wallet design improvement project that Pav is working on and organizing will be super key to get to that level of detail. Because I think if you just spend your time in Figma or even talking to users or so, that is super important. But I think a lot of the real polish that kind of happens in that super tight collaboration around the specifically how the execution happens. And Johns will probably also chime in here. He's a big fan and promoter of ensuring that design and development go hand in hand.
Yeah, I invited Jones to speak, but Jones, just please accept the invitation. But if you're, as usual, watching this from a browser on your PC, it might not work. So, yeah, you have to have an app.
Hey, Christoph. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, congratulations everyone on the V2 of the guide. Finally, we got Lightning in there. And yeah, absolutely. All these new design patterns that we're gonna have to figure out. To figure out how we're gonna abstract all these channel things, as Stephen was saying, and device having to be online and all that. It's going to require some heavy collaboration with developers. So I hope we can have. I see some of you guys in here. I hope you guys, continue adding to that conversation and explorations in the Bitcoin design community. And yeah, we move forward and shift this space together.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get on the Blixt design sprint that you're hosting next week, Johns. That's really exciting. I like the idea of getting the developers and the designers, in a call or a room together or whatever, and kind of getting input from both sides. Because the thing about it is that the way I see design and how it fits into technology is that a designer isn't going to just magically solve problems or anything like that. It's not that it's like, oh, just fix it, here's the solution. The way I see it is that you're really just talking about people who have different ways of approaching a problem. So, one person's way of approaching a problem might be to write a piece of code that solves that problem. And then another person's approach to solving a problem might be, drawing out a sketch or a diagram of how it's supposed to, function, and, coming up with, many different iterations of that, and getting to the root of the solution that way. So I think that really just I totally agree with your approach of just getting designers and developers working together, because I think you're really just talking about putting people together who approach problems in different ways. And I think the magic happens when you have people who think about problems differently talking together at the same time about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And something else that I realize is like as a design community, something that's going to be very important for us to, as we're starting engaging more with developers and stuff, is for us to share a bit about our processes or how we go about solving problems with the developers. Also, it does mean that we have to like accept like some of their ways of doing things and working, but I think there's a big kind of like I don't know, something that like hurts the design process is that we could design things until infinity, right? But it doesn't matter how much we design. It's only until it gets put into code that that is actually going to be end up like touching users. We'll do our user research and user testing and all that, but it's really down to that developer to implement what we do, or what we've researched and all what we're proposing, to implement it in a way that is the way that we expect, essentially. And oftentimes we may not end up designing like all of the edge cases, and may not have all the technical constraints figured out there. And then developers decide that they just want to they'll just tweak this one part of it, to make it like a little bit easier to code, and then it kind of unravels all the work that you've done, all the design thinking that you've put in, all the research, all the sweat that you've done. It's kind of like unravels all of that work. So trying to like communicate like why we make those decisions, and how we arrive to them, and why they should be implemented as that, but also taking back in, it's like, okay, well, instead of making that change to put it into production yourself, let's talk about that change and why you need to make it, and come up with a compromise.
And I'll go ahead and point out, if anybody in the audience has questions, just raise your hand, or whatever the button is called. Otherwise, we're just going to keep chatting about Lightning and the design guide.
Yeah, I have one thing I'm curious about this year is, so we have all this Lightning stuff, and we're going to refine it, and we'll go deeper, and some of it will require technical things. Like, for example, this one issue here, we have in the GitHub repo, guidance for mobile UX background channel monitoring, right? Because the channels constantly need to be monitored in the background and updated so payments can be received. And that is a very sensitive technical process on smartphones. And that is something that you can really only finalize or provide any guidance for in detail through actual practical testing and tight collaboration. Or all of these different standards. There's another issue around guidance on the amount for a Lightning invoice. Lots of wallets allow you to send invoices with zero amount, but lots of wallets also have problems actually handling those types of invoices. So it's just very, very, very detailed stuff. And what I'm curious to is how much we will get into things built on top of Lightning. So there are Lightning applications, a lot of them exist. My impression is that there's a lot still to be done to really smoothen out those interactions, whether those are in wallets directly or a browser extension like Albi. And then all these other concepts, like there was a Stefan Rivera podcast that I listened to around, what is it, synthetic USD on Lightning. And I think there's a lot of cutting edge work being done. So I'm excited to see how, what will mature there, what will click with people, and also how we can provide some guidance or document some best practices around that.
Yeah, the synthetic USD thing that sounds really cool. I haven't finished listening to that podcast episode. I'm about halfway through, but it was reminding me a lot of the stuff I've been reading about in like regards to the HRF and Strike stabilized channels bounty, and just kind of how you could kind of use DLCs to create an incentive for someone to become almost a stability provider. So I think stabilization is probably are going to be a really cool thing to look at in the guide for future stuff. We're going to have to design around that. And kind of, one thing, like to that point about the USD is that like one feature that people were telling me about in El Salvador with the Chivo wallet that was that was kind of popular was the idea that you have these dual balances that that made it very easy for people to understand. I know some people in some situations dual balances can be confusing, like if you have on-chain and Lightning, but when you have the Chivo wallet and you have a USD balance and a Bitcoin balance, that was actually good for people. That helped people to understand it better. What I was hearing, that they had this idea that like, okay, I can keep the dollars on the dollar side of the wallet for my daily spending, and I can keep my savings on the Bitcoin side of the wallet for like as an investment. So I think that's going to be the stabilized idea of a stabilized Lightning channel is probably going to be a pretty important idea in the future.
And then on building things on top of Lightning, I don't know if this necessarily counts as like on top of, but I saw like projects like Amboss, they recently released that they have like some channel state backup tools, and it kind of reminds me of that project that Tancred started with the Photon, which is like the key backup and recovery tool, and if we could like mix some of these things with other concepts like watchtowers and stuff, I think as designers we can start to maybe get around some of the constraints that the mobile devices perhaps have. But of course, yeah, we'd need to collaborate a bit more with people like Evan there and Cooks and those other folks.
Hi everyone. So this question is mainly general, not as specific when it comes to Lightning, but it also joins John's point on cross collaboration amongst engineers and designers. So this question is more of a general, as I was saying, from someone from the outside, relatively new. How are we organizing that kind of or structuring internally when it comes to the Slack channel or other mediums, and that collaboration amongst designers and developers? This question is just to understand a little bit more where to seek information as a designer that maybe has less of a technical background when it comes to Lightning or etc. If I'm in the channel, for example, is there ways to achieve that?
Check out the Bitcoin Design Guide. I mean, we're publishing a bunch of Lightning content in there.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
that would be the first place, and
That's the
give us
first thing I did.
give
It's
and give us
mainly
some
maybe my
feedback.
question is not well framed.
Mm,
Just in terms of the Slack community
yeah.
specifically. Let's say, for example, I have a specific question that I cannot answer, or just rapid question, and I don't want to go through the whole design guide. Is there
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a way to open kind of rapid communication, or just I'm dropping a question here?
Yeah, sure.
So
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, one thing like we have like a bunch of channels. There's the Lightning channel, there's a payments channel, which is not so active these days. there's a Bitcoin design guide channel. So if it's like questions relating to the guide, you could just pop them in there. Don't feel like afraid to like just post stuff, you know. Yeah, it's a friendly community. There are a bunch of like engineers or more technical people who may not be as active speaking, but if they see a question come up, you know, sometimes they try to answer it. And of course, any of us here on this call, any of the attendees who are kind of like knowledgeable about something, yeah, I encourage you to just like, yeah, continue this discussions and you know, let's try to help each other.
Perfect. Thank you for the clarification. In fact, as I was saying, I'm relatively new to the community.
Yeah, one other thing that you can do, it's we have like a bunch of collaborations going on. So for example, there's this if you want to learn more about like Lightning, for instance, there's the and have like some practical design experience on such apps. There's this app called Zeus. There's another one called Blixt and one called Albi. You can just jump in there and like in those channels and try to see if you could participate in some of the design process, or even just spectate if you don't feel too comfortable with designing currently. But I think Christoph wanted to say something.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to state that my beginning experience of designing in this space, I knew nothing. I really did not understand blocks. I didn't understand you know, the initial block download and problems around that, how addresses were generated, any of that stuff. And one of the, but I was still, because I knew that, I really just focused on visual styling and kind of best design practices, and I was still able to provide something useful to the team. And luckily, there were lots of people in the community who were able to just like answer all my stupid questions. And sometimes I felt stupid, but that's totally normal. This space is just so complex sometimes that I feel like if there's anybody who doesn't feel stupid sometimes, I think they're lying or have some type of ego problems or so. It's just so complex. We all rely on each other and we're constantly learning, I think, especially as everything is maturing. So I would not hesitate to just kind of just dive in and do stuff. And Ahmed, I think you also had you wanted to say something?
Yeah, absolutely. I just discovered the Bitcoin design community, and that's pretty amazing. My partner and I run a small design studio in New York City called Sunday Afternoon, and you know, we've been in the Bitcoin space since probably 2017 or so, and you know, it's kind of great to see this design community flourishing and you know, find ways to make the products better and move the Bitcoin space forward. I just kind of I was just curious on like what's the best way to contribute? And obviously, you know, we have a couple of designers on the team that would love to. So I was just kind of looking for the best way to take the first right steps. Can you guys hear
Yeah,
me?
good. Yeah, good one. No, thank you for that question. I've just pulled up your website here. It looks really cool. I was also at a agency in New York for several years. Um, and so generally the way you have to think about it, it's an open community where anybody can just come in and do what they want, and some people organize us around certain types of projects. So it's very dynamic. Some projects, you know, when they kick off, it's maybe just one person, and they get to a point like recently the Sensei project with John Cantrell. He was kind of working more in private, and then he wanted to announce his project, and he started looking for designers, and then he needed help with the website and maybe some logo work, and then a collaboration arose out of that. Similar with the Albi project, which started as a hackathon. And now there are, I don't know, John's, how many people are working on that project? It feels like that has grown intensely. And there was branding work was done, website work was done, UX work was done, and kind of there's some type of ongoing UX work now happening. at the time. So it kind of comes and goes based on what the activity is like, and just whatever projects, what design challenges they currently have. So it kind of it's helpful to just kind of to pay attention, maybe subscribe to the newsletter, keep an eye open. And you can also contact myself, Pavlinex, Johns, Daniel, Steven, some of those regulars who are around. And we can, if you just let us know what you're kind of interested in, we can also, like sometimes because we're more connected with a lot of projects, we can also keep you in the loop sometimes and let you know when something comes up. And then, you can choose whether that's something that you're interested in or not. But on the other hand, you can it's an open community. If you want to kick something off, you can totally do that. If you have an idea for a project or a website or some cool design project or an art project, feel free just to kick something off if you'd like. And even existing projects, if there's a project you think is cool and you feel like their branding or something else website could be improved, you can always approach them and be proactive. That's how a lot of this open source stuff works.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, our strength is really rooted
Was that helpful?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was super helpful. I think that our strength is rooted in branding and typography and graphic design, really. So obviously anything that like is branding related is super interesting to us. Yeah, that was super helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And that is awesome. There's a lot of projects could really benefit from branding work. So I'll definitely put down your information here, and we can chat on Slack if that's cool.
Yeah, I just joined the Slack channel, so super exciting, guys. Looking forward to connecting further.
Hey guys, real quick, I just want to chime in before I have to bounce. First off, congrats on the update to the design guide. That was really awesome. I just wanted to chime in real quick for Yannick with regards to improving one's technical knowledge of Lightning. I believe Dulce was organizing a Mastering Lightning like reading club in Spanish. If you're interested, I think you're a Spanish speaker, if I'm not mistaken. And if you wanted to look into it in English, I think the Slack group did a reading for Mastering Lightning, and they have all the recordings for each of those weekly sessions on YouTube and maybe on their Bitcoin TV page as well. So you can check that out as well.
Thank you very much, Miguel. Yeah, in fact, I think the YouTube channels have been helping me quite a lot, kind of just to have a general sense of the project. For example, Blixt wallet, the ongoing one. I think it was difficult for me to find the YouTube channel. I don't know why. I just found it through following some of you guys on Twitter, so kind of went from there. But as it's easier for me to in a different time zone too, because I'm in Canada right now, to follow up with the projects. But yeah, thank you very much. I think there are many resources. I think one of the best ways is to follow some of you guys and just keep up with the activity on Twitter.
I even saw someone on TikTok mention the Bitcoin Design Guide as a good resource. So maybe we need to start pumping the video content on TikTok and Instagram Reels as well, to be all hip with the kids.
Yeah, we can post videos of Christoph dancing.
100%. I want to see it.
I'm an excellent dancer. Just heads up. Just need a few beers. But the thing around time zones is always difficult. For example, Bosch, he's in Australia. He's a regular contributor, and it's kind of tricky. Recently we shifted one call around in order to accommodate him a little bit better. But in Slack always tells me we have people in 27 different time zones, which I guess includes several half time zones which exist, and so it's really hard to appease everyone with in terms of organization. And I think the videos are very helpful. But if there's a lot of interest into learning about Lightning in some other format, we can just make things happen. It just really requires a handful of people to organize a little bit. One idea we threw around recently was, for example, a reading group for the design guide itself, which would allow it. So we would just pick one page or so, read it through on a call, chat about it, record that, and put it on YouTube. That could be some helpful material for people. So it's there are all kinds of different ways to go about this, and it really just depends. For if enough people raise their hands and show some initiative, then we can make all of that happen. So definitely speak up. And if I may, I'd like to shift topic just a little bit here, because we talked earlier a lot about the technical side of things. And I think another thing that I'm curious about for the next year is inclusion and access. So not only do wallets have to actually implement some of those features and design recommendations, it also has to reach people, and it has to reach as many people as possible, and or the people who want this, who find utility in these things, right? And that includes dealing with accessibility, localization, all kinds of other topics, just being very inclusive in terms of different cultures and all kinds of things. And I'm also curious to hear more ideas and see more initiatives around this. And that is something that I don't think can be done in some central way. It really requires lots of different people with different ideas to speak up and just take small steps and take some initiatives. So I think Miguel, the Spanish-speaking reading group is actually really cool to see. Where does that one happen? Is that a different Slack?
I think Dulce posted about it on the Spanish channel. I could be wrong, but I do remember her mentioning it was going to be happening soon. I think she posted about the specific dates and put out a call for anyone who was interested.
Yeah, and if you're looking for the channel, I think it's called Latinos and not Spanish.
Correct. Yes.
And this channel is, where can I find it? Sorry.
It's on the Bitcoin Design Slack. So if you go to the channels list, and there should be like a way to search for a channel. So just scroll down to the L's or type in Latinos.
Yeah, there's like a search bar at the top. It says jump to, and if you click on that, it should the entire list of all the channels should be there, and Latinos should be one of them.
Yeah, thank you. I just joined.
Yeah, I think the accessibility thing is going to be, really important, Christoph. Like obviously, if this is going to become a global currency, then we can't be excluding people who are blind, for instance. So, like, you need to figure out like what is how does someone interact with a wallet, if they have a disability. And fortunately, we've got there's a ton of that's not a problem that's unique to Bitcoin. It's also a general problem with web development in general. So the good news, I think, is that there's a wealth of knowledge kind of already out there about accessibility, or the cool kids abbreviate it A11Y, but we can look at a lot of that. And I think the cultural thing is also an interesting angle. Like one like just to highlight that a little bit, we a lot of times when I'm hanging out with Bitcoiners in the US, everyone, pulls out their phone and, whips out a QR code, and, when they want to send each other Lightning payments, and, they're just generating Bolt 11 invoices on their phones, right? And then when I was in El Salvador, and I've talked about this before, but for people who haven't heard, it's like, in El Zonte, they had this thing set up where, it was a little more difficult for the people running the small tiendas and restaurants to, have to, generate Bolt 11 invoices all day. So they would just have this like fixed LNURL QR code on a laminated sheet of paper that they would scan. And for them, that was their preferred way of interacting with Bitcoin. Well, then I think I want to say it's Bitcoin Jungle in Costa Rica, the Bitcoin Jungle wallet. They're kind of they forked Galoy's repository, I think, and they made this Bitcoin Jungle wallet for this community in Costa Rica, and they've been making these really interesting tweets about how the changes they're making. And one thread I thought was really interesting is they start talking about how they implemented NFC support, if I remember correctly, and they were saying that they were having a problem with like the laminated signs. Like I guess they tried doing the laminated signs. Like in El Zonte, and it just like didn't work in the Costa Rican environment. Like too much sun, it was so humid that the lamination would just completely get destroyed. So it was like that was just like completely not a good option for their environment. So the thing that worked best for their people was implementing NFC support. So they did it, and I think they made a PR for it too. So yeah, it's just everywhere you go in the world, people are gonna have different kind of intuitions about the best way to interact with the software.
Yeah, and just to chime in something on that, the title that we have on the website is, designing Bitcoin for everyone, right? So that anyone can use it if they choose, right? And I think something that's also going to be important for us is to, try to bring these learnings back into the community. I'm not really sure how exactly we're going to be doing that, like on scale, but I did try, for example, like inviting the folks at Galoy and to share some of the learnings that they're doing on the ground. I think if any of you guys know any organizations which are doing user research in different communities, like around Bitcoin and its usage and adoption in those places, it would be great to kind of like connect them to the Bitcoin design community so we could learn from them together. Um, uh, that's one idea, but if you have other ideas on how we can get some of these perspectives on scale into the community so we could improve the guide for everyone, yeah, that would be great. I think Thunder Biscuit wanted to say something.
Yeah, hi everyone. I just wanted to come back to the idea of video content. Somebody mentioned a little while ago. I was trying to figure out my speaker and whatnot. I just think it's a really good chance to provide value that lasts for a very long time. There's a lot of video content that, if it's correctly done, or even not, it becomes canonical and like provides value for an extremely long period of time. There's a lot of like parts of Bitcoin that are constantly evolving. They move a lot, so video content maybe not so good for that. But there's a lot of parts of Bitcoin that is almost set in stone at this point, right? So it doesn't change, and providing really well built videos for that is likely to, provide crazy good value. I think I'm trying to produce a little bit more this year. But an example of it is I was part of the Chaincode Lab seminars, and some of the really important videos that people still listen to today are, Chaincode Labs seminars by John Newberry, where like he's explaining SPV nodes, and there's another few of them. And today, still, like, this is from 4 years ago, and it's still like the videos that are basically the final word on it. And they're goddamn awful. Like the mic is super bad, the camera's not good. You don't see it's just but the content is so good that there's still like the reference speeches on that sort of stuff. So anyway, just think there's a lot of value in providing good. I want to learn something. My is I check YouTube. Does it have anything interesting on it? And then if not, like written content or depending. But yeah.
That's true. Videos are a rich, powerful format. Right? I was reading *Sapiens* recently, and they were talking about how people are visual and always communicated stories through language and their imagination. And then the written word was actually only invented because people needed to start tracking numbers around property rights and finances, because the settlings of people, cities, states grew too big that there needed to be some structure. So written language was only invented to track numbers, but we're still visual. Our brains are still work on a very visual way, in a very intuitive way that way. So I'm a big fan of videos too, basically what I'm trying to say.
You're the video expert, hey?
Oh God, I started trying to do a Figma live stream last week, trying to design a Satoshi concept symbol for the Bitcoin icon set. That was a mess, but
Hey,
experiment.
It's good to be transparent with the processes as well, right? People can learn from that. I mean, yeah, maybe we should try to kind of like read one of the pages, or maybe any of you guys read one of the pages of like sending Bitcoin, and then like try to design a UI for like using those recommendations in there, like, and just record it, and maybe that could be useful. I guess the more video content that we have, the easier it would be for people to find it, right? Find the community. Because I think Yannick, I think it was Yannick who said that the videos are really useful, but it was difficult to find. So maybe, I don't know if it's a quantity thing. We just start like spamming YouTube with a whole bunch of Bitcoin design related content. I don't think that's too bad.
I think Connor Okus is interested in building the Bitcoin developers YouTube channel that he's got going. I'm not sure, I don't want to speak for him, but from what I understand, maybe interested in incorporating other people's content too if they had high quality stuff. Should check with him.
Yeah, I was on so that's at twitch.tv/Bitcoin developers. He's also working on a dedicated website, and he's had a few live streams where he spent an hour and a half or so with developers on setting up basic Bitcoin development tasks. Some of them are Bitcoin Core, Bitcoin LDK, BDK. I was also on a call with him for a stream also last week, I think, where we went through the Bitcoin UI kit and took a very basic design task and worked through that in Figma. And so I think that type of, it's like an interactive workshop. It's also encouraged that people ask questions during that stream, and then it's also recorded. So yeah, Connor, that's a really cool effort, and I do think he tries to cover both the technical side and various other aspects of building applications from different angles, and also tries to keep it pretty interactive. I think he's Connor Okus on Twitter, and it's twitch.tv/Bitcoin developers. I think if you're curious, that's a pretty cool format too.
Yeah, and if you search for Bitcoin developers on YouTube, you should be able to find the recordings of the past Twitch streams.
Yeah, Stephen, you're the man behind the scenes. You're doing all the editing and recording and setup there, right?
You just doxed me, Christoph. It was supposed to be a secret.
Sorry for ruining your life.
It's supposed to be the shadow engineer in the background. No, I was just trying to say you could find it on YouTube if you because I think the Twitch page automatically purges the old streams or something like that. So I think they can only see last week's on Twitch, but on YouTube you should be able to see all the episodes.
While we're doxing and saying Stephen is being really humble, I don't know if you guys have already given a shout out to any physical meetups, but seems like he's going to be talking about open source soon. I don't know if Stephen wants to talk about that with Uncle Rockstar. But yeah, if anybody is around the Nashville area, it's a great chance to actually meet people in the community. If you can't catch up on all these videos, it's great to just go to, a BitDevs or, whatever your local area. If you happen to be lucky enough to have Bitcoin meetups going on right now, definitely encourage everyone to make it out and try to meet someone in the community in person.
And that's one of the cool things too, right? That none of this stuff is centrally organized, but it's all so many different individual groups with different interests in many different places. It makes it sometimes harder to figure out what your place is and what you want to do and what you should spend your time with. But I think it's also one of these pretty amazing aspects of Bitcoin and the ecosystem and culture that has developed around it.
Also plugging Istanbul. There's a FOMO hackathon going on there, and a few of us are going to be representing Bitcoin design in Meet Space in Istanbul. I think it's on the 25th to the 27th of February.
Should we make a bunch of merch, kind of like Bitcoin design swag that we can all rock?
Oh, that sounds like a great idea, Pavlonex. Wink, wink.
Yeah, maybe that's something we'll jam on. Do we actually
Yeah,
have? Is there? Yeah, I mean, it sounds like there's an. Is there like an identity for the Bitcoin design community that we can go off of?
We've got a seal. You could find it in on the website. Let me see.
You can also, it's in Figma community. You could search for Bitcoin design community seal.
Awesome. Beautiful.
Yeah, I don't care about the branding. Let's just make it just make a cool sticker. I know I'm being contrarian. No, we do have a branding, but I mean, I think part of and this is I maybe I'm reading into the way that Christoph and Daniel and a lot of the earlier contributors to the guide who were way before me built this, but I think that the branding is kind of built in a way that is open and flexible to other people's creative input. So like if you look at like the header banner image on the top
the
of
banners.
the website,
Mm-hmm.
like it changes every time you load the page, right? And so the typeface is the same every time on like Design Bitcoin for everyone, but like the visuals change radically depending on who interprets it, what way. So, if somebody went and printed 500 stickers of the official Bitcoin design community seal, yeah, I'd slap that on my laptop. But also if somebody made something totally random and cool looking, I would slap that on my laptop too. So,
Stephen, you just
I
have
love
anything on the laptop. Come on, with Bitcoin design.
Yeah, pretty much.
And this is how Steven gets robbed. He puts Bitcoin on his laptop. I'm playing though. I wouldn't mind if that's cool with everybody when I go to a conference, like throwing it out in an open source tent and putting a bunch of stickers out. I know people always love that. And yeah, I mean, obviously that's the best part about open source is you don't have to ask explicit permission, but if it's cool with everybody when I go to Miami or wherever else, even bit devs, when Steve and I are talking, I'd love to just hand out swag, so if people want to put it on their laptop, at least they have an option.
You don't need to ask permission, just do
Just
it.
do it.
Just do it.
I love it.
Print those stickers.
Print those stickers, all of them.
Yeah, it's nice though. I feel like it's just a small thing where people can remember us or have a little something, see us in the wild. It feels good to see someone kind of randomly who has one of these stickers. They're like, oh, you listen, or you might have been to the site, or some kind of connection.
Yeah, I think Daniel's was talking about getting a face tat, but hey, go ahead, Daniel.
I was talking about what? Sorry, I didn't get that.
Getting a face tattoo with the seal.
Oh no, I absolutely did not say that. But go right ahead.
And bringing it back to video content, there's actually probably a year and a half old video about this branding idea, and it is originally based on a campaign by Nike and the old school MTV video concept, where you have kind of a basic identity that's really just kind of some black and white outlines, and then it can take on tons of different shapes based on whoever in the community, whatever they feel like, whatever they think is cool. They can just express themselves in any way. And because there are some very, very basic, simple visual structures and guidelines and hints, maybe there's still a kind of a sense of consistency. So, kind of being a community, but still allowing everyone to express themselves in whatever way they feel like. So we have 5 minutes left here, up to the hour. Anybody else want to do a quick round of just stuff that they're excited about for the next year? What they want to do with the guide next? What they want to see in the community? Anything else? Or would you like to propose a different topic, which is totally cool too?
I'm finally wanting to get into this guide a little bit deeper, and I'm hoping to use it for some testing for the merchant section. I've been working with people and looking at their stores, both on desktop experience, mobile, and even like brick and mortar. So I'm for sure going to reference this. It's going to be awesome. So super excited, and congrats to everyone who contributed. This is really cool and exciting for me.
Yeah, and I'm going to be putting on some hackathons, virtual hackathons, for creating Lightning web applications using like WebLN and stuff. So like Albi and Zebedee and these kind of like WebLN extensions. And hopefully we get some designers and developers kind of like collaborating together. I think that's kind of like my big mission this year. That's
Keep working on issues. Keep working on Lightning in the guide. That's going to be my my jams for the next bit here.
I think everyone's tired after all that writing, it seems. Or was no one talking? I don't know.
Hold on,
They're just
there's
all
some
reading through the guide right now. They must be so amazed. Version
There's
2 is blowing them away.
some
Whoa,
requests
guys.
right now, trying to get people in. Doug, you had requested to speak.
Come on,
Should
Doug,
be
where
able
you
to
at?
now.
Hey, how you guys doing? I kind of caught the tail end of this meeting, but I just want to say thank you to everybody that's involved with this project. I kind of build silently in the background. I work on Bitcoin ATMs for Bitstop, as well as kind of on the side have been working on keeping HODL Wallet alive, which is a free non-custodial Bitcoin wallet. And what you guys have done, I've been in crypto since like 2013, give or take, and building in it probably since about 2015. And it's standardized things in a way that it's allowed me to bring a lot of new and talented people into this space and get them excited to work on it. So I just wanted to say thank you. Silent fan in the background, trying to jump on these calls more often and get some of the people that I'm bringing in to work on this stuff that aren't Bitcoiners. They don't know much about cryptocurrency. Get them up to speed real quickly on like the way to do things because of the project that you guys have going on. So thank you.
Version 3, content about ATMs.
Yeah, I would love to work with that. I mean, there's this crazy intersection. Bitcoin ATMs have always been kind of like the gum at the bottom of the shoe in the Bitcoin ATM and the Bitcoin industry in general. There's much more interesting and funner things to work on, but it's a big portion of the population that's getting onboarded that lives in a cash world that can use Lightning Network to do cross-border payments. There's a lot of interesting products to be made when you're coming from the cash world, jumping into this digital world through a Bitcoin ATM, being onboarded into a wallet with a good, UX and UI that's simple and kind of still staying true to the core tenets of what it's always been, which is non-custodial, teaching people how to back their words up and all that jazz. And we have never built anything custodial, which has kind of been an interesting thing, but I think in the long term for us, it was the right choice. And I'm excited to see, a push in a standardization of that style of holding Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general. I think it's really the evolution of it, and there's a lot of tendencies for people to give up on on this model and say like, no, we got to do things like the old way, especially designers and product people. Like, no, people will never hold their own keys. But I think the exact opposite, and it's always been fun to head in the opposite direction. Um, and yeah, Bitcoin ATMs and Bitcoin wallets, non-custodial wallets, are a match made in heaven, because cash is kind of works in the same way in some respects. So it's like a natural onboarding into holding your digital cash.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think the ATMs are going to be so important. I don't think I know hardly anyone in the US who uses Bitcoin ATMs, but I think in other countries that's going to be like much more cash-based economies. It's going to be important. I agree with you.
So yeah, in the U.S., you'd be surprised. It's a pretty wide range of people. A lot of first timers, because it's a tangible experience. It's in front of you. It's not so nebulous, and it's very private and personal, and it's you and the machine, and you feel locked in. So we get a lot of senior citizens too, a lot of boomers, retirees, a lot of people that have saved cash their whole life out of mistrust for the government, don't necessarily want to run it through their bank account. So it's certainly an interesting model. And like I said, it's always been like the gum at the bottom of the shoe, because there's other more lower hanging fruit in building digital products. But yeah, I'd be happy to talk with anyone here anytime. And like I said, I'll try to swing around more, because I'm cycling and moving now back into HODL Wallet, which has been neglected for some time for us. And it has been such a joy to be able to send people to the project and the design group and be like, hey, look at all these resources. And this is how, you store your 12 words. And there's different ways to have people validate against it, and yada, yada, yada. And these are these terms are new for a lot of front end developers and UI UX people, and this project helps catch them up big time. So I'll be around more, because I'm rotating more towards that. If you guys want to check out on GitHub, just search HODL Wallet. You'll see the new version. It's on a new stack, and the old version as well. And we're always looking for contributors. We just recently opened source state. It's built on NBitcoin, and it's got a Xamarin front end. And yeah, come say hello. And I'm looking forward to engaging more with everyone in the design community.
That's awesome. Speaking to goals, that would be my ideal. If at some point people say they would prefer and recommend these open source, true Bitcoin self-custodial wallets, because they're just so much better and intuitive, and than anything else, whatever corporation or anybody else can just offer. That the community based, the FOSS open source wallets, that they are just the obvious way to go for the mainstream. That would be my ideal someday.
Yeah, I think that's great that you guys that's the vision, and it's such a challenge. And I think that Bitcoin wallets have been stuck in time. Some of the stuff just works, and it's the way it should work. But with really good designers that maybe are coming from outside of the space and onboarding them to this style of thinking, we can make non-custodial wallets truly better than any custodial solution, with safety nets and making the right trade-offs with privacy and convenience, or at very minimum just informing about that. And it's like, hey, fine, you can take this kind of safety net choice, but you're going to give up this and this when it comes to privacy or whatever else. And it's time, I think, for Bitcoin wallets to be kind of rehashed and rethought, and take all the good stuff that works and put some fresh minds on it. So really exciting stuff overall.
And I think an additional part of that is just simply serving the people who are excluded from any of these other financial systems. They simply just don't get served. So this is pretty much the only way to access this a type of global payment network.
Yeah, that's right. Especially the underbanked, the cash-based economy. And it's like, there's people that live off Bitcoin ATMs and HODL Wallet that don't have a bank account. And that keeps me going, because I think that if they can figure it out, right, out of necessity, then others could eventually figure it out out of curiosity or seeking some sovereignty or some autonomy and power over in a world that's ever increasingly invasive and restrictive. So some really special stuff's going on in this space. And there was none of this like really a couple years ago where I could get on a spaces with people, chatting about how to make Bitcoin wallets better. So, not to beat a dead horse, but that's just kudos again to you guys. And I think that I always say that if we can teach people to store Bitcoin in 12 words, well, I mean, that's the basis to so much in terms of having control over your data and over so many other aspects of your life, right? Especially like with multi-sig and like we can build safety nets with multi-sig where it's like one day maybe you are your custodian and you may get a safety net of 3 institutions that are centralized entities, but cannot collaborate against you, but can bail you out when you mess up because we're human. That stuff's really hard, and not a lot of people want to build that stuff. So again, kudos to everyone.
Thanks, Doug. And I would maybe just use this opportunity too for anybody else who has been involved in projects. Like if we can help in any way, feel free to reach out and Slack, DM people, and like we have design reviews still. If there's anything we can do as a community to support a lot of these open source projects, I want to make sure we're, staying focused on our overall goals, but also stepping in to help these. They really matter, as you guys have brought up so many great points. Please just message me if you need to, or anything, if we can help in any way.
Yeah, John O'Donohue is very helpful.
No one's more helpful than John O'Donohue. You should know that. Just a quick OPSEC will prove that. No, but yeah, I think I would just leave it on. I hope we do a lot more of these calls, both on Twitter Spaces, as you said. We couldn't used to do this, Doug. That's really special, and I hope more people are going to meetups. Best of luck to Steven tonight in Nashville and other people who are around the world presenting on free and open source solutions. So if there's anybody else too who has a local meetup, just post in the Slack and let's get folks out to meet each other.
Hey, Andrew just joined the stage here.
Hey, Al, how are you? Good to see you and hear from you. I joined a little bit late, but I heard you all talking a little bit about the sort of the merchant side. As some of you know, I work at Galloy. We built the Bitcoin Beach wallet. And one of the things that I've been thinking about is the sort of the printable QR codes, right? So static QR codes that where the merchant doesn't need to create an invoice. Didn't know if you had already been thinking about sort of the best design for these, printed pages that can be at the sort of point of sale. But that's one thing that I'm kind of working on right now. So if anybody's interested in working together on that, I'm happy to kind of share progress. To make sure we think about, in the footsteps or the shoes rather of a user who is walking up to a merchant who wants to pay in Bitcoin, who might be using one of many different wallets. Like, how do we make it easy for them to pay in Bitcoin, right? Especially knowing that the matrix of accepted, invoice and payment methods for wallets is different. So those are some of the challenges that I'm just thinking through now. Just so feel free to reach out, and otherwise I'll be in the Slack channel with updates as I make some progress.
Thank you. I actually just DM'd you. That's one thing I would like to get into our next iteration of the design guide is a merchant section. So over the past, I'd say 6 months, I've been working on that and with HRF and activists, and it is extremely complicated and there are many pain points. So I would love to connect with you at some point and chat about how we can make that easier for people. With
Awesome.
Pavlinex, of course. I'm sure there'll be many DMs with him too.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay, we're at an hour 10 now. What does everybody think? More topics to discuss? If so, please say something. My beer here is empty. I just finished it. So I'm ready to go and have dinner. But if you'd like to chat, we can keep going. I think it was a really good conversation so far. What do you think?
It's been a good conversation, but personally, I think I'm going to bail. It's lunchtime in my neck of the woods.
Thanks, you guys. I'm going to head out too.
Thanks, everyone.
Awesome work, everyone, again.
Thanks, everyone. Well done, everyone. Great stuff.
Ciao, everyone.
Yep. Thanks for joining. Hope everybody enjoyed the conversation, and check out the design guide and help us improve it.
Later.